I just came across an article that's about Justin Baldoni having a new look, but there's a detail about Disney and what Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni's lawyer.
The entertainment sector isn't unfamiliar with well-known court cases. However, some conflicts start in the most surprising ways, in which a recent essay regarding Justin Baldwin's most recent appearance, it appeared to be nothing more during the rounds, rather than a standard update to celebrity fashion. Nevertheless, a careful examination of the item showed a much more convincing development that was not particularly related to his appearance was hidden inside the piece, was a particular element that suggested a lot larger story, one which included Disney and a potential legal action taken by Baldwin's attorney Brian Friedman.
Okay, ladies, so have we picked a side? I mean, I've already picked a side. I had picked it during the premiere because I just thought things were just very off-putting at that point. And I was like, Blake Lively, why are you behaving this way towards Justin Baldoni, who hired you for this film?
Known as Justin Baldoni for his efforts both behind and in front of the camera, has been navigating the constantly changing environment of Hollywood for years over his career, which has included successful directing and performing roles. Initiatives. He has also been vocal regarding business procedures and innovative rights, so the reference to a possible lawsuit against Disney and all, the more fascinating the details stay mostly hidden, yet the reality that the name Brian Friedman is currently associated with the circumstances imply that something brewing. Friedman is not important, unfamiliar with high-stakes court cases, and whatever he has in the entertainment industry represented influential people in conflicts concerning breaches of contract, intellectual property, and claims of. If he is involved in industry misbehavior, is probably more involved in this scenario, more than a straightforward argument.
I am more than willing to take every single text message that exists out there.
Let's now examine whether Baldoni is sticking to his principles or rocking a FA hawk. Characteristic long waves are almost non-existent. Revolutionary information, but the pictures selected for the piece were dubious. Some are not as flattering as others, as though the idea was to portray Baldoni as a particular manner, regardless of what actually. The important thing is that this individual is attempting to endure a barrage of unfounded accusations, bullying, and what a lot of people think abusive narcissism in the legal war. It's not simply draining it around him, is changing his whole life.
We are still in the middle of the It Ends With Us saga between the shampoo company owner and Justin Baldoni.
Justin Baldoni, known most for his part in Jane the Virgin, is accustomed to being in the spotlight. Focus, but the spotlight has recently left his job. Accomplishments in the current legal drama. It finishes with us, between him and his. Blake Lively, a co-star, has been sued. Been the focus of unending conjecture, with industry insiders and fans keen to recognize the issues that led to the scenes.
Most of you are justifiably and rightfully angry at Blake Lively. There's another character in this It Ends With Us drama that deserves a lot more attention, and that's Justin Baldoni's former publicist, Stephanie.
The case has evidently had a negative impact on Baldoni, who has been renowned for his positive outlook and motivating individuality, but the burden of it has been difficult to overlook the past year. His most recent Hawaiian vacation was allegedly to be a necessary diversion from the constant examination that has ensued him ever moment the case was made public. Along with his kids, Maya and Maxwell wished for a tranquil escape for a short while and return to normal from the confusion of court documents and media conjecture, but in the realm of privacy for celebrities is never assured. Even in Hawaii's serene beauty, every motion he made was captured on video, preserving quiet times for introspection and fatigue. The psychological stress of the Baldoni has been evident over the past year. He has admitted how profoundly the circumstance has had a direct impact on him. He explained the year in the interview, 2024 as a paradox, a period of extraordinary career achievement combined with excruciating emotional torment comes to an end, was a huge hit with us, surpassing $350 million in box office receipts and demonstrating that viewers were ready for a touching and intensely moving tale. However, in spite of its achievements, Bologna have little cause to rejoice over the. Following the premiere of the movie, there has been legal issues are everything but easy, giving a shadow to what ought to have been a turning point in one's career.
It Ends With Us has proven to be a box office sensation, despite behind-the-scenes controversies involving its lead stars, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. The film, based on Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel, has raked in over $115 million globally in its first week.
Justin Baldwin has never hesitated to, from talking about mental health, but recent occurrences have resulted in his difficulties with anxiousness into more focused attention, while he was cautious not to bring up Blake by name Lively when discussing his emotional health. It is not feasible to disregard the significance of the current legal. Their conflict during the previous 12 months has drove him in unexpected directions. And in spite of his attempts to stay robust, the toll is indisputable. In a open discussion on the Gent Talk podcast that was captured in November, Baldoni was released in December, up about how difficult the year had been the times he spoke of intense self-examination evenings of intense uncertainty and the battle to uphold his self-perception in the face of relentless. Despite outside influences, his words did not simply provide an overview of his own. They depicted a man on the journey, battling to recover while ensnared in a circumstance that prevents him from moving ahead while remaining loyal to himself appears to be the top priority for the Hollywood director. Even as the public discourse about he keeps changing Hollywood flourishes on spectacle and court cases involving famous people frequently take on lives of their own. Baldoni is aware of all too well, yet he's still dedicated to. He spoke while concentrating on what really mattered, about the significance of mental tenacity and the effort needed to remain grounded when everything in his immediate vicinity seems disorganized, and his message wasn't only regarding his personal experience. It was a reminder that recovery is not always a simple procedure, particularly when individual hardships are exacerbated by public examination.
Well, at any one point, the sun might be hitting me where I am here in New York, but on the other side of the world, it's dark. And we have to start thinking about ourselves in this way, where we're not all light, we're not all dark. And sometimes the sun's gonna be shining on me, and sometimes it's not. But I don't have to be all light to be a good person. I don't have to be all one thing, because what makes me human is that I'm a combination of both light and dark.
A court case involving Justin Baldwin and Blake Lively's situation drastically changed when Lively submitted a sexual. It concludes the harassment lawsuit against her co-star. The case with us right now. Renewed controversy that attracted a lot of media coverage, yet a large portion of it felt like a retelling of a repeated loop. The same accusations with little addition. Fresh data, while the headlines centered on the actual lawsuit, a detail that was nearly shocking. In later reports, there is something that ought to have taken up the top pages.
We gather storms, never knowing what they'll mean.
Hey, Lily, you want to do the honors?
No, you go ahead. I need to take it in from here.
I was hoping you'd say that. Okay. Oh my God.
Tuesday, another well-known name was caught up in the expanding legal. Ryan Reynolds filed a motion in drama, asking to be kicked out of Baldwin's $400 million lawsuit for defamation. Reynolds' participation in the case was already surprising, but his presented paperwork showed a strange and unsettling relationship between, the conflict and his next movie. The court filing involving Deadpool and Wolverine was a satirical figure from. Nice Pool is a spoof of a movie that, according to Baldoni, was purposefully based on him. The alleged similarities weren't merely found in personality qualities or hazy parallels. Especially the unique man bun of the character seemed to be a scathing remark directed at Baldoni, escalating a dispute that is already heated.
Circumstance.
Sorry about that. Come here, girl. Who are you? Oh, I'm Deadpool. And I guess you're Deadpool too. But in here, everybody calls me Nice Pool. Oh my goodness, wait till you see Lady Pool. She is gorgeous. She just had a baby too, and can't even tell. I don't think you're supposed to say that. That's okay. I identify as a feminist, right? Are those gold-plated 50 caliber Desert Eagle pistoleros? Of course. To match my ear huggy. Can I have them? Over my dead body. You're fun. And I guess you've already met Mary Poppins, AKA Dog Pool. Careful where you put your hand. She's 90% G-spot, and she'll let you know it. You let this little flirt out of your sight for 1 second, and she starts shopping for a new papa. If you can't be a responsible pet owner, then maybe you don't deserve this little unicorn. Guilty on all charges, Your Honor. It shan't happen again. Why are you so nice? It costs nothing to be kind.
Shouting the fuck up is also free.
Caliente. This is Logan. He's usually shirtless, but he's let himself go since the divorce. Where's your mask? Come on, guys. Oh, this guy.
What caused this? The revelation that was especially unsettling was the true tale of Ballon's long hair. He had been cultivating it for a very long time. My own motivation for donating it to cancer. Patient's perception of a character, claiming to have made fun of his appearance, became a significant Hollywood. Production escalated the dispute. For Baldoni, this wasn't merely a straightforward instance of mockery, if his assertions were. Indeed, it implied that Reynolds and the film's creative staff had shifted, turning something very significant into a comedy. The idea of such an important reduction of a gesture to a punchline simply made the tensions worse already. About the lawsuit.
For God's name is the intimacy coordinator!
Can the joke seen in the $1.3 billion box office hit Deadpool and Wolverine be used against Blake and Ryan?
Guilty on all charges, Your Honor.
Baldoni's legal team thinks so, saying the character is a deliberate attempt to mock, harass, intimidate, and bully the star.
Frequently, sometimes we overlook the enormous impact that humans can be affected by such stress, however. The latest health concern of Justin Baldwin is a harsh reminder of how much physical trauma can result from psychological trauma. He was admitted to the hospital in June with a spinal infection, a disorder that doctors are directly associated with high levels of stress. The relationship between mental and people's physical health is something they frequently ignore, but the truth is, unquestionably elevated cortisol levels, constant nervousness, and emotional. The body can be weakened in ways by distress that are not usually readily apparent. What starts out as a psychologist.
You know, like anyone else who would be going through a situation where you're accused of something that you did not do and are suffering in a public way, I think it's, it's distressful, to say the least.
The general public. The character of his court case has only increased the strain on social media. Hasn't always been nice to him. Abuse that is narcissistic, particularly when it transpires under the harsh scrutiny of the media, might cause anxiety in people who have gone through it and comprehend the constant fatigue it brings, the restless nights, panic episodes, and overpowering feeling of powerlessness. It goes beyond the legal system. It is about the emotional warfare itself that accompanies the ongoing sensation. Imagine being attacked and having nowhere to flee to. View.
I think that they are absolutely entitled to that opinion, and it makes perfect sense as to why they would feel that way. I mean, look, we live in a culture where, unfortunately, too many things are glorified. And, you know, we are fighting for attention. We're in an attention economy, and we're in a clickbait world, and everybody is trying to, you know, figure out how to gather attention. Look at the news cycle. It's everywhere around us.
Baldwin's predicament acts as a scathing reminder of the lengthy repercussions of ongoing stress. Hospitalization wasn't a unique incident, but instead the result of months of mental stress on the physique. Can endure just so much before it starts to lose it, even if he has always renowned for his tenacity, despite even the strongest people have their limitations. His health scare served as a reminder that, for him alone, but also for everyone who has ever disregarded the significant influence of physical and emotional distress, well-being in spite of all the Baldoni has persisted in making progress despite his trip provides an illustration of how these circumstances can be harmful, particularly when internal conflicts turn into the general public. The human body is not constructed with spectacles to withstand continuous, unremitting stress, and his experience serves as evidence of how severe the repercussions could be on the. However, the legal team for Ryan Reynolds is essentially dismissing Justin Baldwin's lawsuit, arguing that it was an overreaction and portraying him as having thin skin. In their legal documents, they contend that his disapproval of Pull the Deadpool and Baldoni thinks the Wolverine character is making fun of him is only motivated by damaged feelings, not a true legal matter, but rather the traditional tactic of downplaying someone's encounter, giving the impression that they are being overly dramatic rather than addressing their actual statements. Rather than addressing Baldwin's assertions, Reynolds' group is reversing the storytelling in the manner of Baldoni is simply searching for a reason to be angry.
Can we just be done?
Ooh, we're just getting.
However, the reality is that Baldoni is not simply furious at a joke he made out of the blue, offered concrete proof that it has nothing to do with being sensitive, but rather his reputation, his career, and the reality. Something he believes was specifically directed at he resembles Napool in certain ways, are far too particular to be merely a coincidental behavior, appearance, and even the man bun makes everything appear a bit too pointed, and that final section is what truly elevates the entire situation. Baloney's level wasn't only increasing he had been growing his hair long for pleasure, to provide something to cancer patients. Profoundly intimate and significant now. Imagine discovering that you'd done something. Become a joke for a worthy cause. In a popular film, it isn't only personal, innocuous parody.
The healing journey.
Look, safe and sound, what Betsy always does. You're gonna have to give me my dog back, though. What would ever happen to me? Sorry! Fuck! Sorry about that. Ah, it's funny. I can gently tap the fourth wall, too. Come here, girl. Papa's here. Hey, do not insult this.
The legal team for Baldwin is not allowing this to slide, and to be honest, many individuals seeing this development are not the entire thing is merely a comedy defense. Works when the joke isn't really offensive. But what if Baldoni is correct? Occurred, therefore this isn't only a case of. It is a case of Hollywood humor gone bad. Public attack on his reputation, and he isn't giving up on ensuring that individuals. You now understand that this is where things get considerably more chaotic, because Disney may become entangled in the drama as well. Based on an insider who spoke to the legal team for Daily Mail, Baldwin is no longer only considering Ryan Reynolds. They are preparing to look into it. The part that Disney plays in what Baloney says is a full-scale effort to discredit him. This goes beyond a single character in Wolverine and Deadpool. It's about how that character appeared in the film. Someone gave their approval, and if there was a larger scheme behind it,
You must be quite pissed off that, you couldn't make that decision for yourselves.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We tried, but the fans got it made. So there's a great story, too, that this is totally fan.
Balon's group is said to, intending to investigate every aspect from who provided funding for the movie, forming a school's character too, whether Disney executives were aware. Precisely what they did when they approved it if they discover proof that Disney knew about the purported parody and gave it permission in any form that could, becoming a significant issue for the Disney has experienced its share of disputes throughout the years, and the dragging it is the last thing it needs into a court battle over a figure that, according to one performer, it was intended to embarrass him. If Baldwin's assertions are true, this wouldn't be a single instance. When an actor is made fun of in a film, it would imply a huge entertainment company intentionally took part in, or at the very least ignored an deliberate assault on a person's reputation, especially in a field where reputation is. All of that is the type of scandal that can quickly get out of hand for Disney. This couldn't have happened at a worse time. The business has already been enduring a run of disappointing internal box office performance, disturbances, and the ongoing difficulty of maintaining a lead in a field that is moving more quickly than before, so the final requires being pulled into a prominent case that might reveal a few awkward behind-the-scenes judgments, even if the complete production team was unaware of the purported smear campaign. It would just require a few important decision-makers participating in this to become a significant issue.
With almost 100 years of history, Disney is perhaps the single most influential media organization, not only in the US, but the entire world. In the 1920s, they invented modern animation with their groundbreaking Steamboat Willie short film, and to this day they have been at the forefront of both live-action and animated filmmaking. Their success in the box office has also translated to success in the stock market. Since going public on the New York Stock Exchange in 1983, Disney's share price increased 134-fold at its peak in early 2021. However, in recent months, the company's fortunes have taken a dramatic turn for the worse. Since the peak last year, the share price has lost half its value as losses in their Disney Plus streaming business continue to explode. They were also saddled with a huge amount of debt, both from their recent acquisition of Fox's media assets and the negative impact of COVID lockdowns on their theme park and cruise line businesses. In the summer of this year, the billionaire hedge fund manager Daniel Lowe bought a $1 billion stake in Disney.
The legal team for Baldwin is not. They are merely making accusations, allegedly getting ready to delve deeply, and that entails undergoing manufacture, internal notes on behind-the-scenes video, emails, as well as any other correspondence that may provide insight on how well the pool worked out. Should they discover something that implies that the character was purposefully intended to make fun of Baldoni, it could put some extremely strong individuals in a challenging Justin Baldwin's position. Thus far has not formally filed a lawsuit against Marvel or Disney, but that does not imply legal experts will continue to hold that position. Believe that it won't be long before he acts, particularly if his team discovers convincing proof that the studio contributed to what he says is the smear campaign is now settling. With him could be the most intelligent play for Disney as long as this continues. The greater the attention it receives, and the final, the studio requires an additional controversy that prolongs its already lengthy list of problems. In contrast to Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively appears to be prepared for combat this conflict all the way to the finish. Disney functions differently than a protracted lawsuit, implies close examination of any leakage, and a nightmare for public relations that might eclipse its next initiatives. Big studios dislike convoluted legal issues, conflicts, unless they are completely essential. If Baldoni possesses a powerful enough, Disney may determine that removing the best way to make this is to deal. Issue disappears silently. However, if Boney chooses to bring them to court, might quickly become complex and involve a lawsuit. Opposing Disney would result in even more focus on this case, compelling the business to defend its position in a circumstance that it most likely never anticipated. For the time being, they are remaining silent, but if Baldoni continues, they will need to choose between fighting or look for a way out before things get out of hand. The effort by Messier Ryan Reynolds to brush. He's not landing this off the way he likely hoped. That in his court documents, he portrays himself as a helpful spouse. Someone witnessed first how Blake Lively suffered as a result of Justin Baldoni. The type of declaration intended to frame him as someone merely supporting his wife instead of actively fostering the drama. Yet there is a clear problem. Using that reasoning, if Reynolds indeed felt that Lively had been harmed by Baldoni, and why would he go back and make a persona that was inspired by him in a blockbuster in Hollywood that isn't precisely the action of someone attempting to choose the morally just path?
Disney, the June Daily Mail reporting on this, is looking at an almost $900 million loss right now, following a series of woke flops.
On the one hand, the optics here are rough. According to Reynolds, Baldoni was a major cause of suffering for those who live on the. He is suspected of snooping around. Turn a spoof into a big-budget movie if he consider Baldoni to be the antagonist in this circumstance. Why even acknowledge him? Risk turning him become a topic of conversation in a film that is unrelated to their. These are the types of personal disputes that information that further complicates this case. And for that reason, Baldwin's legal team is exerting every effort to demonstrate that this was not merely a coincidence at this time. The approach taken by Point Reynolds appears to be predicated on the notion that Baldoni is making a huge fuss over nothing, but that dispute begins to unravel when you think about the work that would be required to add a figure such as nice pool to a. If Baldoni is able to show a movie of this size, Reynolds is saying that this was done on purpose, going to struggle even more, persuading someone that this is all simply an exaggerated response.